Welcome to the latest episode of On the Desk of Brian, an easygoing podcast where I explore a mix of my professional and personal interests. In this episode, I look at education levels across various nations, the return of the NBA season, a recap of the Packers games against the Cardinals and Steelers, renovation plans for Arizona State University's basketball arena, and much more. First up in education is an article by Marcus Liu posted on Visual Capitalist. The article noted the education level of 45 different nations, which separated each country into three categories: percentage of the adult population below a high school education, percentage of a population with a high school education, and percentage of the population with a college or university education. In leader in college degrees is Canada, who have 64.7% of its adult population with one. The United States is in eighth in that ranking with 50.7% of its adult population with a college degree. There are some other interesting takeaways from the article too. One in particular is looking at some nations with high GDP per capita. While there are some, like the United States and Canada, that tend to have a population with higher levels of college degrees, there are also some others which also have a high GDP per capita, but have a much smaller percentage of their adult population with a college degree, such as Germany. Marcus attributes this to Germany's dual education system, where classroom instruction is coupled with apprenticeships, which prepare people for jobs that don't require a university diploma. Looking now at sports news, starting off with basketball and the Suns. NBA basketball is back. On the first night of action, I had the opportunity to watch a couple games on Peacock, and it was great to hear the round ball rock jingle by John Tesh, while the Houston Rockets took on the defending champion, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Golden State Warriors took on the LA Lakers. Later in the week, Amazon Prime had its debut to streaming NBA games, with the Boston Celtics traveling to Manhattan to take on the New York Knicks, and later, the LA Lakers hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Phoenix Suns had their season opener against the Sacramento Kings. While they started out competitive, they ran to a rut and were down by more than 20 points. But with a third quarter, they outscored their opponent then 36-21 and were able to bring it within 2 points to start the fourth quarter. Continuing to play strong, the Phoenix Suns won their first game, which was also Suns coach Jordan Ott's first win as a coach. The Suns were then scheduled to play 3 games in 4 nights. The first game was against the Clippers, where the Suns battled but ended up losing. The next night they took on the Denver Nuggets, but came up short there as well. As of this recording, the Suns are 1-2 in the season and take on the Utah Jazz on Monday night. I love my Suns and subscribe to Suns Live, where I can stream most of their games, but previous to this year, with national games on TNT and ESPN, I ended up missing most of them as I wasn't a subscriber. This year, the NBA's new contracts for national games has changed. Amazon Prime and NBC Peacock now have games throughout the week along with ESPN. And as a subscriber to ESPN's streaming service, I have the opportunity to enjoy those as well. Moving on over into baseball and D-backs news. Sweeping the Brewers, the National League is being represented by the LA Dodgers for the World Series, and over on the AL side, the series went 7 games, and the Toronto Blue Jays were able to come out on top. The World Series first game went to the Blue Jays as they had a strong showing to open up the series. Then in Game 2, the Dodgers battled back and tied it up. As of this recording, Game 3 has not yet occurred, and as a D-backs fan, I'm really hoping those Blue Jays come through to win the series against the LA Dodgers. Taking a look now into football and Packer news. As of this recording, the Green Bay Packers are the number 1 team in the NFC with a 5-1-1 record. I had the opportunity to attend the game they played on October 19th when they took on the Arizona Cardinals. While it was being played in Glendale, Arizona, the audience was heavily in favor of the Packers. It was reported by Colin McMahon of Sports Illustrated that fans were so heavily in favor of Green Bay that Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett was forced to use a silent count on offense. The Packers didn't play great, but they did get the win, thanks especially to a late fourth quarter touchdown after a gutsy decision to go for it on 4th and 2 rather than kick a field goal, which would have tied the game. Then, in one of the most anticipated games of the season, the Green Bay Packers went on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Besides a game that was between two storied franchises, it was the first game that Aaron Rodgers would play his former team. The Packers were down at the half, but then had a tremendous second half and won the game by 10 points. Okay, now looking at Arizona State University. We're going to be looking at both ASU football and basketball today. Starting with football, since the last episode, the Sun Devils had an incredible victory over the number 7 Texas Tech Raiders, eking out a win late in the fourth quarter. Then, the Sun Devils played Houston, where Jordan Tyson, their star receiver, was ruled out before the game due to an injury. The Sun Devils were down multiple scores, but battled back, but unfortunately ended up losing by 8 points. Moving on over to ASU basketball, their arena is getting some very long overdue renovations. In an article published by the university, the cost of the renovations will exceed $100 million and will start in May of 2026 and is scheduled to conclude in December of 2029. There are several aspects of the arena that are improving. Looking at seating improvements, 729 lower bowl seats will be replaced with padded seats and cup holders, and there will be 200 wider seats with extra legroom installed as well. There will be 4 what they call Hollywood courtside seats for a very premium experience. We also have existing restrooms that are going to be renovated, along with 2 additional restrooms to be installed, along with bringing the arena up to ADA compliance. There is also planned to be modern video boards installed, both above center court as well as along the walls. To check out a render of the arena's upgrades, as well as more details of the project timeline for those improvements, please check out the article. The link is in the show notes. For a sport that I typically don't follow, I have some information that came across my desk recently, and that is about F1 racing. Apple recently announced that Apple TV will be the exclusive home of F1 races for the next 5 years. The announcement comes months after the release of Apple's F1 movie starring Brad Pitt that released earlier this year. Specifically, the F1 content on Apple TV includes F1 practice sessions, qualifying sessions, sprint races, and Grand Prix. Interestingly enough, it looks like other networks and streaming options outside the US will be carrying F1, which differs from what I can tell the way that Apple TV is nearly the exclusive home of Major League Soccer worldwide. This move in the US for F1 to move to a streaming option is something that I've mentioned before, as the landscape for how people watch live sports has been changing over the past few years. Earlier in the episode, I noted changes in where to watch NBA games, and even the behemoth in the sports space, ESPN, started offering streaming of its traditional channels for the first time in August for those who do not have a cable or satellite subscription. This episode of On the Desk of Brian is brought to you by, well, no one. That's right, it's time for another Not a Sponsor. Today's Not a Sponsor goes out to streaming sports services, because these days, catching your favorite team means juggling more subscriptions than your fantasy lineup. Want to watch the Suns? That's on Suns Live. National game? Hope you've got Peacock or maybe Amazon Prime, unless it's ESPN, but only if you subscribe to their streaming version. Oh, and F1? That's all Apple TV now. Baseball? It depends on your zip code, lunar phase, and maybe your cable provider's horoscope. Look, I love options, but when my watch later list starts needing a spreadsheet, it might be time for a timeout. Still, props where it's due, streaming has made it easier as ever to catch games anywhere, from your couch to the checkout line at Target. So here's to the modern fan, balancing apps, accounts, and hope. You may not know which service your team's on tonight, but you will know the login screen by heart. This message was not brought to you by Peacock, Prime Video, ESPN, Apple TV, or any other platform. Though, if any of them want to sponsor On the Desk of Brian, I'm already paying you anyways. So thank you, ChatGPT, for today's Not a Sponsor segment. Next up on my desk is productivity, and I enjoyed an article from Tom Pritchard on Tom's Guide. In his article, Tom explained why he uses Google Maps every time he drives, even when he knows where he's going. He gives 4 broad reasons. First is the benefit of real-time traffic avoidance, because Google Maps is aware of traffic conditions, including congestion and reported accidents, and it will reroute you to faster ways to get to your destination. Secondly, you have an estimated arrival time, which is also updated based on live traffic conditions. Third, there is lane guidance, which helps you determine which lane to be in when you may be approaching a roundabout or even a freeway exit. A fourth benefit to using Google Maps, even though you know where you're going, is the fact that it shares with you information about construction, road closures, and police activity, such as speed traps, on your route. While Pritchard's article focuses on Google Maps, it is important to mention that these benefits are available on Apple Maps as well, which is what I primarily use. If you want more details, please take a look at the show notes for a link to the article. Okay, moving on over into entertainment news, specifically streaming. The AV Club published a great article written by Matt Shimkowitz recently that detailed a streaming bundle with Apple TV and Peacock. A standard bundle costs about $15 a month, while a premium one costs about $20 per month. The bottom line is that if you're planning on subscribing to both services and paying monthly, this may be a better option for you. Cynically, I wonder if this is a way to psychologically keep you subscribed to both services. For example, if you are in this bundle and you find yourself not watching offerings much from one of the services, having them bundled may give you pause to cancel the bundle and resubscribe to one or the other. Mentioned a bit in the article also is that service from Apple removed the plus, so streaming service is called Apple TV rather than Apple TV Plus. That's the same name used for the hardware device as well as the app. Moving on over into video game news, I'm looking at making a recommendation this week of a sequel available on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That game is Power Wash Simulator 2. If you want an ultra casual and relaxing game, this is a great one to play. Personally, I like playing it while listening to an audiobook or a podcast, something going on in the background. So that wraps up another episode of On the Desk of Brian. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. If you want to find me between episodes, I'm often found on Mac Voices Live, which records on Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Please check out my website, brian8944.com, so you can keep up with all my ongoing and upcoming projects. You can also contact me there with any feedback you may have. So until next time, so long for now.